All right, good morning and happy holidays, everybody. Hope you guys had a great Christmas and welcome to today's Unique Solutions webinar on Bolide CMS and managing multiple recorders. Here, I'm Ken Miguel, and here with me is Mr. Mike Lugo. Mike, how you doing?
Doing great. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you had a good holidays.
So we're taking off. We're taking a break before New Year's, and we're doing this great webinar to answer a very common question, and we think it's an important part of this of our video surveillance solution to know about, and it is the CMS software, right? So we get asked all the time, hey, I want to stack a couple of DVRs. I have an older Asia or coax system or an analog system, and I want to add and upgrade the customer to IP cameras. Can I tie them together? Can I add a DVR here, an NVR at another site, and a third NVR at another site? And we'll be answering these questions on this webinar. And of course, this webinar is brought to you by Bolide Technology Group. Over 20 plus years in the surveillance industry, we offer just the latest and greatest in CCTV hardware and software. Okay, we're gonna jump right into it. So this webinar is gonna cover a couple of topics. How does it work? The software, the interface. How do you set up a recorder? How do you set up a recorder locally? How do you set up a recorder that's remote? We're going to show you all the functions and features of the user interface of the software, where to get the software, what capabilities does it do, and what are the limitations of the software. And Mike will take us through a live walkthrough of live working CMS software. He's going to show us all how to add our devices and show all the great functions that it does. Okay, so what are we looking at here?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. So there's a brief introduction to our Bolide CMS. If you've ran the software before, this screen looks pretty familiar. So before we get into it, I want to go over some minimum specs for a PC if you want to, for your customer, for yourself. Now, these are minimum specs. Of course, the more robust you have of a system, you want to add to that, but minimum, you want a Pentium i3 or equivalent, 4 gigs of RAM. If you're using multiple screens, you want to have a video card that has multiple outputs, at least 250 gigs hard drive space, and a minimum of 1024 by 768 video output.
So we're talking about a client station.
This is a client station, yep. So of course, if you're using like 4K cameras, you want to see 4K, then you're going to need a 4K video card. So these are minimum specs.
Now, would they be able to use a computer that's being used for office?
Oh, of course.
Software use?
Of course. To view, to just go over stuff. But if you're doing something for a customer that's going to be a dedicated machine to just viewing, you want to use that machine as a dedicated machine. It can take up some resources because you're running a lot of video, you're running a lot of things on it. It might slow down your regular computer use. So yeah, keep that in mind.
Okay, so if I'm the security installer and now I have multiple devices, could be in the same place, or they could be something that's added to a recorder that's in another location. My first thing is I need to get the software, right? So let's go over where to get it.
So in the box, there's a CD. It's a little CD, and I know nowadays a lot of computers don't have CD-ROMs anymore. They're becoming obsolete. So that being said, you can always go to our website, bolideco.com/support, and there is a software tab. In the middle, you can see the first 3.
Is it able to go through the
yeah,
website?
Yeah, for sure. Let's click here. Changes. There we go. So let's go down to, there's a Bolide website.
So bowlightcode.com.
Support, and then software firmware manuals. This will take you to a page that looks just like this. You want to go to the middle software tab. And these first three are very important. The first one is the device configuration tool, which is a search tool, which is going to help you find your cameras, find your recorder, and be able to change those IP addresses to your network. But we're focusing on the next two down, which is Bolide CMS. You can see there's a Mac version and a PC version. You want to make sure you download the right one for your operating system, whatever it is you're using. Very important, but they're found on our website.
So he's going to hit download, then install.
Download, install, and it'll take you through a wizard that'll help you add these devices, but we're going to go over those now.
Yeah.
So,
and one thing I want to bring up is this software is free. There's no licenses involved. Everything is already inclusive when you use Bolide DVR. Though it is a proprietary software, you can add a certain third-party cameras, but not recorders.
not recorded.
So this is only for Bolide recorders, but it is for current gen Bolide DVRs.
Yes.
And a few generations back, right?
Yep. All the way back to our SVR 9000 HD versions,
Which is our 960, our last 960H DVR line.
Yep.
All right.
So a couple things we're going to be going over. You're going to see in the control panel, main menu, remote playback, group device management, a log search, account management. Account management, I'm going to go over it, but I want to mention it now that it is separate from the recorder. This software is a separate entity from the recorder. They're under the same umbrella, but mostly everything on the software has to do with the software. And I'll show you how to go in and make changes in the recorder. But the software is its own separate thing. Separate from the recorder, you can have your own separate settings, but it also allows you to do recorder settings as well. Just keep that in mind. File management, system config, emaps, very important. We're going to go over that. I think it's underestimated, emaps. A lot of customers don't use it, and it's a great tool. Local playback, local record, and alarm management. So there are two ways to add a recorder. Before I go into the live portion of this, I want to go over these two buttons. There's an add online device. Add online device is for a local recorder, local camera. If you're on that same network, you can hit add online device. Makes it really easy. You'll get a list of everything on that network, and you can add it very simple. You go ahead, and once you add it, all you have to do is input the name, username, and password. That's it, because everything's already added for you. The other way to do it is add device. This is for a remote device. When doing that, then you have to go and enter the name, the QR code ID, or IP address, or if you're using a DDNS, that name, the port number, and of course, username, password. So very important that you know the difference between these two.
I want to mention a couple of things we want to cover when we made the software. We want to make sure we want everything to be on one software, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen so many manufacturers out there that have a different software for different series of DVRs, NVRs,
cameras.
Yeah. So one thing that end users hate and installers hate as well is jumping between one software to another. Same thing with the phone app, jumping from one app to another. You want to have one centralized platform, and this is what we're going to go over.
Yep.
And Mike showed how to add a device. So one thing with the Bolide Quick Connect that we've been utilizing for years is you don't need to do any port forwarding, or you don't need static IP address to get a DVR on.
Correct.
All you need is an internet connection. Mike's going to show you guys how to add one, but that's a very common question that we get asked. hey, do I need to do DDNS or port forwarding with this stuff? The answer is no, you don't, which makes it so much easier for your installation team, and for you guys to service this equipment. Even if the end user doesn't, even if the end user changes internet providers,
Yep.
as long as he gets internet, it will stay online.
Correct. So
Okay, so we're looking at here. So we've already installed the Bolide CMS software, and we're gonna go on to the next step.
so this is our control panel. We went, like I said, we went over the main menu, remote playback, all that stuff. We want to deal with group device management.
Okay, so the first thing that you go to, control panel. So when you first fire up this software, it will take you to control panel.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we were showing group device management,
which is the most important part of this whole thing, is how you're going to add, take out, manage all your cameras.
Yeah. And I was also mentioning how many units, how many devices can you add to the software?
Yeah, you can see I have
And
many devices here.
he has a lot on there. So it's
the one of the most important aspects of this is that you can, like I said, this is a separate entity than the recorder, but if I want to make some changes to my recorder, I can come in here and go to my remote config, and that's going to take me to the recorder. And 90% of anything that is in the recorder, you can do from here, from the remote configuration. You can't format a hard drive. A couple other things you can't do for security purposes, obviously, but everything's here. I have my analytics. If I want to go ahead and go over some analytics, I'm able to do that. Emails, set my alarms, my motion, any settings that are in the actual recorder, they're going to be here except for formatting a hard drive, maybe a couple other ones.
So backtrack out of that. All right, let's go to you were showing add online device, right?
Yeah, so
that's one way to do it.
It's one way to do it. This is our network here. You can see I have a 32 channel NVR, a DVR, and some cameras, right? So let's say I want to add my camera. It fills this information in for me. I don't have to do anything, right? I can change this if I wanted to do my QR code or my IP address. I could select that. I already have it in there, which is here, right? There's my IP camera. It's also down here. So there's the information. My IP camera, the IP address, the port, username, password, of course, all that good stuff. And you can see that it's added. Once I add it here, it's real important to import. Now, you can see there's two columns, groups. It's real important. Let's say you're an installer, you have multiple customers, right? And they have multiple sites. I can add a group for each site and then import that recorder into that group. So this would,
or a group of so you can,
or a group of cameras, yeah.
Pick and choose whatever cam. So if you have more than one recorder, and you want to pick channel 1, 2, 3 from one, and then 4, 5, 6 from the other one, and set it as one group.
Set it up as one group. If I wanted to get rid of these cameras here because they're obviously not online, I'm able to do that. You can just delete that, and it's gone, and I don't have to worry about having those show up on my list. Now, why do we make groups? We make groups because under my main view, there's my groups. Okay. There's my groups. So I wanted to put a camera on, drag it in, or I can drag the whole thing in. But like I said, if I don't want these other cameras that are not connected, I can take them out. That's pretty cool.
All right, go back to group device management. Okay, so the other way would be to click add device.
Add device, and you can see that now that information is not filled out for me. So I got to go and manually put in my IP address or my P2P ID, port, all that stuff. So if you're on the same network, the best bet is to use add online device. But if you're at a remote, you're hooking, your customer's recorder from work at home, you need to use the add device.
So where do we find the device ID? So we don't need a static IP address.
Don't need a static IP address.
Unless the network really require it.
Requires, yeah. Some IT departments will not want the P2P to be active, and you have to use an IP address with port forwarding. In those situations, you would use this.
Okay, so you're gonna enter. So let's add a device.
So let's add our demo. Let's add our demos. So the IP address for our demos.
Can you do a QR code
You could
ID?
You could do that as well.
Can you add one right now with the QR code ID?
We don't have the ID.
Okay.
Yeah, if I knew the ID, I would add it. Off the top, it's just too long. But same thing. For 9,000. I think it's sales. It already exists. It does. Yeah. So, but it would be the same. Actually, this one here. It's actually this one here. So let me add that over. So I'm coming under webinar use. I want to import that. There it is on the bottom. All right. And there's our demos. We just got back from ISE, so we're still setting our demos up. But so there it is. Really easy to add. Very simple. Now I go to my main view. There it is there. And
so backtrack, close main view.
So let's close main view out.
So what he's talking about main view is, can you close that out?
Yeah.
And close out root device management. So to view your cameras, so now you added the devices, right? So now you want to see them. You go back to control panel. The main view is your live view.
Yes.
All right. So when you already imported the devices, it will show up on this active list under main view.
Yeah, and real important. A lot of times customers will add it and they're like, I don't see what I added. There's a drop down, and then you'll see your recorders. Keep that in mind. Yeah, very important. Sometimes they think they didn't do it right or something, but it's right. You just gotta add the drop down of the group, and it's there. So I want to go over some of these icons that we see here. Pretty important. Sometimes we have customers that get confused about remote playback, which is here, right? And local playback, which is here. They look very similar. What's the difference? The difference is remote playback is from the recorder. Like I mentioned earlier, the software is its own separate entity from the recorder. You can also have the software record your video separately, right? And so it's going to have its own copies of video on the PC itself. How do you do that? So first of all, account management, that's its own separate entity, but file management is gonna, where you want to put this video. It's all gonna come here, right? Where do I set that up? Go under system, system configuration, and file. So this tells me where I want my video files to be stored and my pictures to be stored. Also, real important, you see download record type. RF is raw footage, which is unedited, proprietary video that for court purposes or something like that. But most of the time we either download AVI or MP4. Those are our most common formats. But this is where you set your directory to where you want that video to save, and that's for local playback. I'd say maybe what, 80–90% of customers don't really use it, but it's there. You keep everything on the recorder, but you know you have this as a separate, you can use it as a backup if you want. Let's go back to control panel though. So those are the difference between remote playback and local playback. Remember, remote playback, now I'm going to the recorder. This is in the recorder, I want to see what's going on. And then if you're familiar with our GUI, it's pretty much the same all across the board in terms of how to get video. It's a search, you get a timeline, you hit the play button, and then I can go anywhere along this timeline and select where I want to start that video. Another thing is you can see on the bottom, there's a timeline with colors. You see different colors on there. Also, if you're familiar with the recorders, you know that green is normal recording, yellow is motion. And we can just click along this timeline. If there was motion or if there was live recording, I can just see what I need to see, hit play, and it'll go straight to that video.
So let's exit out of remote playback and let's go back to main view. So let's show our audience. Okay, so we're trying to manage multiple recorders, right?
Yeah.
So let's go over a little bit about the buttons on the main view page right there.
Yeah.
So as you can tell here, there's how many? We have four,
and I can go all the
four
way
devices, right?
Yeah.
So show one, drag one NVR onto your. So essentially, you're drag and dropping channels.
Yeah.
right? So that's one recorder.
And then I can do another recorder.
Do it, and then, okay, so now we have 3 recorders. So this is
Yeah.
key here because you want to view everything on one screen.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing is too is you wanted to do multiple screens. I can get this
Let's
and drag that.
let's do this first.
Yeah.
Okay, just open up your main view. Okay, and then so let's add that fourth. You have how many NVRs on there now?
So give me a second. It just came out. Let's go back to that. Okay, let's go back to main view. There we go.
So add all those 4 devices to our live view. We're going to simulate. Let's say you have 4 sites. And okay, and then another question would be how many cameras can I see on one screen?
Yes.
Okay, as Mike went over there. So all right, so there's buttons on the bottom center part of this software where you click that little square button is your layouts.
The layouts, yeah.
And you can have as many as 120 cameras at once.
So click that. So that looks like.
So that's what it looks like. Now you can have different custom layouts.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you definitely have a lot of options here as far as seeing your all 4 recorders at once.
Yeah.
Right. So another good capability is he kind of grazed over it earlier is remote configuration, right?
Yeah.
So let's go over that a little bit now.
From here as well, you can do it. So right click, remote configuration, take me right back into the recorder. Now I'm in the recorder.
Yeah. So all the controls pretty much.
Yeah.
2 things that are very common that customers need to set up when doing installation is the record schedule.
Oh yes.
So go to record. Okay. So this is as if you are at the DVR, right?
At the recorder
or
the
NVR.
camera. Yeah.
So you can do motion events here. Go to your resolution and frames, so you can change it from
all that there.
From the software. Date and time you can change from the software.
Yep.
And you can also have them follow us the same network time, right?
Yeah. So you have your
if you
NTP.
want, if they're in the same time zone, just so everything would sync up.
Everything would sync up. Yeah.
And then the analytics, you can set your parameters remotely also.
Also, info. If you need to get that QR code, just like the recorder, it's there. If you need to give to someone else, they can scan that from the CMS as well. Not just the recorder itself, not just the physical recorder, but also in the CMS.
All right. So go back to, all right, go ahead, exit out. And so right now you're seeing the substream of all the cameras, right? So if you want to maximize, so let's say you're at 128 camera views, actually just double click one of the channels.
Yeah.
Maybe this one, right? So this is actually one of our fisheye cameras.
So I'm able to change my streams from here in order to see all the cameras. It's less, you can see my CPU usage is going up, as I change that. And I can, like I said, you can gauge on actually what you can view. Of course, better specs, you get better res, better, more cameras to see.
Yeah, so you can do digital zoom.
Digital zoom, oh, real important. Yeah, digital zoom.
You can
there's my digital zoom.
You can, so you'll notice there's also buttons on the channel, which is your manual recording, manual screenshots. You can control your PTZ on there. You can control the motorized lens of our cameras that have motorized lens.
Yes.
And also you can adjust your audio. If you have audio, your controls are on there.
Yep.
So there's a whole lot you can do here.
Yeah.
And yeah, the key here is everything is on one interface.
Yes.
So we're going through. All right. So load up a channel from a different camera. Load up a channel from a different recorder.
Okay. So let's double click that and over that. Let's go here. Have one already. That's that one. There we go. Here's a different channel from a different recorder.
Double click that. Okay, so now we jump from one recorder, one NVR to another. So that's how fast it is. It's you're really looking at it as if it's like one system,
One
right?
system. Yeah.
So that's the key here, and I think your customers are gonna like this feature, especially when they start scaling system. And this is a 4K camera.
There's a 4K camera. Yep. Yep.
So 4K camera on mainstream, and our computer is not that special, and
Yeah.
we're still able to smoothly stream this camera.
Yeah, for sure. So you can see, that's multiple recorders, different recorders. I can see that once. Let's make this a little.
Just do a 9 grid. Yeah. Okay.
So these are all different recorders.
Yeah, these are all from different recorders. Okay, so let's exit out of main view and let's go to remote playback again. All right. And same concept works here, right? So you can play back. So Mike already kind of went over a little bit, but you can play back one camera from a different from different recorders.
Yeah, so let's go. That's 2 different recorders. Search. So
then, yeah, so you can literally play back channels from different recorders, and you can do a sync playback. You can do different time periods.
Yeah, and then also you have our newer recorders have dual stream recording. So if you have that enabled, you can also do a substream playback. And then you have your different types you want to search: normal, motion, PIR, analytics. There's also a smart search feature, which lets you highlight an area if you're not using any of the analytics or motion. If you have just 24-hour recording, you go into your smart search. It'll easy way to find it, rather than, we have our lines here to find it. But if you're doing 24/7, that'll help you out big time.
We have a question: how many channels can you play back simultaneously?
So you see here we have some different grids, right? So we can go ahead and do a 16 grid and do 16 playback. Keep in mind, look at my CPU usage already. So in order to do 16, you want to have a little more robust system in order to do that, but you're able to do it. And that's key. Yeah. That's key.
You can do 16 channel playback.
16 channel playback.
If you look on the bottom, like center part, you'll see your pause, play, stop. You can do frame by frame.
Yeah.
You can actually control the EPTZ on fisheye cameras.
Oh yeah, for sure.
On the software itself. They're color coded, like Mike mentioned. You can filter out. Let's try to filter out motion only.
Yeah, so let's go.
So under mainstream.
Let's take that off.
You can do motion events. Okay, then hit search. So and then hit play. So now you're kind of optimizing your search. You're not going through hours and hours of videos.
Yep.
And yeah, it's in as far as the starting point. You just move over that.
Yeah, you just click that
the white line right there.
And if you want to zoom into a more accurate time, that's what these are here, right? So I could zoom into 1 hour, 2 hours. You can see it's from 00 to, it's just 1 hour right there. So if I want to go back, I can go back and there's a 24-hour timeline. So you're able to zoom into a more accurate time if you're looking for a specific minute. Yeah.
Okay, and then backing up. So go to download, hit the download. So all right, so when you hover your mouse over the camera, you'll see an arrow pointing down. That's the download button. And this is pretty neat because you can actually download bulk amounts of videos. So we get asked all the time, can I back up? For example, a bank, they want to every day they want to back up video. Can I do it? You wouldn't be able to do it using flash drives because of the limited capacity of flash drives. But if you use the CMS software, then this is, for example, in this case, these are all videos from today.
Yeah.
So you can literally just check all those boxes or hit select all and hit download.
Yep.
And it will back everything up in the computer that you're using. And also you can search by date.
By date. Put a specific start time, specific end time, and just get that chunk of video.
Yeah. So this software is not just for managing multiple recorders. It can also be a a way for you to set up kind of a storage server.
Yeah, it's a true central management software. You really can manage everything from one place with this. Yeah.
All right, and you mentioned you can download as AVI,
AVI,
MP4.
NVR.
Yeah.
That's another important. You want to make sure that you take care of that right away.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to save video in the wrong format and then days later think you have it and then go back and so you want to make sure you save it correctly.
Okay, so so this is playback. So let's say you're finished messing around with playback, close out the remote playback. So you always want to revert back to control panel, right?
Yeah. Close that
If you want to enable a different function.
Yeah.
And so what Mike is doing, we recommend doing that because closing out these windows will lower your CPU processing consumption.
Correct. Yeah. Very important.
Okay, so now we were able to add devices, show them live, hit playback on multiple devices. Let's show what Emaps is.
So Emaps, like I mentioned earlier, this is a very underrated tool. So you see here, I have 2 floor plans. And you can do multiple floor plans. I can go here. I can add another floor plan if I want. I can have multiple for multiple sites. Real easy to use. I just upload it, PNG, BMP, or JPEG, name it, and then I have my floor plans. Now, I'm gonna open that up. Let's say, how do I use this? So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna edit my floor plan, and from here I can add zones, I can delete it, or I can edit, which I just did. I have my camera list here. You can see I already have 1 camera there, but I want to add some more. I want to add this one at the, this is a dining room, right? I can also, once I get that done, I want to go to preview. There it is. So what happens? If I get a motion or I get an alarm trigger, what's going to happen is I'm going to get this window pop up and you can see the little motion icon going off telling me, hey, something happened in this area of the location and I don't have to guess on where this camera is. I have 16 cameras. I'm trying to figure out where is this happening. This will give me a live view on the map of where it's happening at the same time. It's a great function to use. I can also,
how many maps can you load?
So you can load up to 3 levels, right? So I have different groups and I believe it's like 3 in each. So I'm saying 9 maps.
Yeah, and going back to multiple devices, you see the same 4 devices that we've been using.
Yep. So let's say it's a multi.
So you can do cameras from different.
Yeah, multi-floor location. You got 3 floors. Each floor has its own recorder, right? So I can load 3 maps, 1 for each floor, and set maybe one of the cameras from the 2nd floor is on the 1st map. I'm able to do that. I gotta go edit. I'm able to pull that camera in from a different recorder because it's on the 1st floor, and there we go. So it's really easy to use. It's a great tool. I think everybody should use it just a little more, especially if you're viewing your cameras a lot. You're looking to see what's going on. You want to know where it's happening.
I've got a question here. How many users can log on to the software simultaneously?
So that's a great question. Before we had limitations, now we do not. I think we've done what, 26?
Yeah.
Up to 26 users at once. Yeah, there's not. And then you have multiple users for each account. And you can do multiple accounts. And I'll get into that right now.
We've done a school where they needed to be, I think, 9 personnel that needed to use it. And yeah, they're able to.
And so how does that work, right? Because it's separate from the recorder. Remember, separate from the recorder. I can go make users in the recorder, and that's going to be good with logging on at the recorder, logging on with the mobile app, or adding it to this software. But what about the software itself? You said there's account management. So like I said, this is separate. I can also make users here for the software. This is completely different than the recorder. And with this, I can go check and uncheck what I want them to do on all the recorders. not just one. I can have 10 recorders and manage them all from one with the software. I want them to only see, cameras 5, 6, and 10, and they can only, do remote playback or remote viewing on just those cameras. And so when you log on initially with the software, asks you for username and password, and this is where you'll add that information. So it's real important to keep in mind it's separate from the recorder. The recorder has its own username and password. Yeah, with that, so this also has its own alarm config management. So the recorder has motion detection and triggers to set notifications to you. This software also has the same. So you can do all these different triggers, PIR, intelligent, which is our AI and stuff like that, all through here. And what do you want it to do? Do you want it to record, do a pop-up on the EMAPs? Do you want it to make a sound go off, like an alarm? And they all have their own separate settings for each camera. You can do each individual camera, right? Or you can do the whole recorder. So it gives you a lot of different options, a lot of different ways to configure your setup.
Is it this one?
All right.
And of course, local record management. This is where I'm storing my local recording, not the recorder. And then my local playback is, you see there's no recorders here. Why? Because it's all in a directory, right? Everything's in the same directory.
We got another question here. I have a customer that wants to split into 3 screens.
Yes, you can split into
Can I split it to 3 screens?
Let me show you how to do that. This is pretty cool. So I can grab this tab here and just pull it off. Pull it off completely. Let me show you. I don't know if it allows me to show me pulling it off, but you just drag it to the next window, your next computer screen, if you have 3, 4, and you can do it for each one. I can grab all these off and put them all separate windows or separate monitors if I have separate monitors. That's another cool feature. So
you can do live view,
yep,
playback.
I can do an EMAPs, yep, an EMAPs and a live view, so I can see what's going on. Pretty cool. Yeah.
We got a question here. Let's open that up. In your analytics, how many contacts can there be for alarm notification?
So by contacts, do you mean people getting the notification? If that's what you mean, so whoever is logged in and has that recorder on their either their phone or their software, they're all going to get it. Yeah. Everybody who's associated with that will get it.
I guess how many receiver emails can you do?
So receiver email is different. So you can do up to 4 receiver emails. Yeah. A lot of times we have customers set up a universal, maybe 1 or 2 universal emails, and everybody will have that on their phone or whatever, and they'll get notifications from that. Or you can do separate. But if you have a bunch of people, yeah, you can set up like a group. 4 per NVR, yeah. Yep, correct.
But we're only talking about
emails.
The receiver emails.
Emails, yeah. Notifications. So there's separate. There's notifications that you get. It has nothing to do with email. You're getting those pushed to your phone or pushed to your software. And then there's email, which is a separate way of getting notifications.
So we do team email.
Team email.
And everybody can get, and then you can use that.
Yeah, the push to your software or to your phone is as many people as have that recorder on there. So it can be, 15, 26 if you have 26 people on there. Yeah. So let me close some of these windows out. A bunch of them.
Another question here. Does the Mac operate the same or is it different?
It does. The Mac does operate, and that's another key feature that a lot of software out there does not run on Mac.
But it works just like this.
Just the same. Yep. There's no difference. You wouldn't be able to tell if you were on a Mac or a PC. It looks the same. Everything works the same.
All right, let's go back to, so get out of alarm config and let's go back to main view. So We're gonna wrap up the webinar soon, but just want to show you guys another, another. Go ahead and drag the channels there. So this is the workflow that you're gonna be doing when you're adding, like Mike's doing right now. He's picking and choosing channels from different recorders on one platform. We showed you guys how to do custom layouts, but utilize this because this is a really unique software that is very centralized. It will make your customers your customer system look like is one.
Yep. I do want to add one thing because we do get a lot of requests on how do I change the name of the camera. So once you add it to the group section, then I can go and I can edit this right here. I can modify that name to be split new camera. Right. So now that name is new camera. Let me go back to main view. And there it is, new camera. So you're able to name each camera from the group device side and, personalize, so it just doesn't say camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. You can name that camera on the left side to help you better identify what camera you're looking at. We have a lot of customers who want to do that and they're not sure how to do it because this side here just has channels.
We have another question here. Does it do automatic updates?
So no, it doesn't do automatic updates. There really is no reason to do automatic updates on the software. If there's a firmware that needs to be done on the recorder, it doesn't affect the software. So it's pretty universal that way. Like I said, it goes all the way back to our older recorders. Yeah.
All right, all right.
So we went over all this. Any more questions anybody might have?
Yeah, so we're gonna be wrapping up the webinar now. Hope we're able to show you guys the actual workflow, how it looks, managing multiple devices. It's called Bowlight CMS. You can download this from bowlightcode.com. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to go ahead and still type it in. We're gonna stay for a few minutes to answer them. But thank you guys for joining us on today's webinar. I know we're in the middle of Christmas and New Year, but you guys took the time to join us here. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys at the next webinar. Hopefully, you guys learned something here. Again, this is good stuff. We are going to be uploading this on YouTube. So once it's available, we're going to email this to you guys so you can forward this to your colleague, customer, boss, or you guys can rewatch it and go over the steps on how we added the devices. It might be a handy video for you to have. You can access to anytime. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, our YouTube page, our LinkedIn. We post a lot of good content on there, and we do this webinar every month. So it's 2020. We're gonna keep doing this webinar for you guys, and to our supporters, thank you very much, and you guys have a good one.
Have a good one. Thank you.